The incredible Amanda Edwards is with us today, and we need to talk about what's going on in our country. We need answers. We'll start with Texas, though.
Hatter, it is, yeah, can I just say it's been a mess. What is happening right now is just outrageous. We are watching right before our very eyes our governor, who called a special session because President Trump told them to then go and redistrict, chop and slice and dice all of these districts within our community so he could suppress and silence Black and brown voters. We are in this process right now that I'm sure people have seen on television where our state reps have been forced to flee our state.
Yes.
Because they were trying to shove this redistricting map down everybody's throats without an appropriate process where we could actually have modifications to the map. And moreover, we shouldn't be doing this to begin with because we just finished redistricting back in 2021.
Right.
The taxpayers already paid for it. We're supposed to do this every 10 years when the new census data comes out. And instead, when Trump says, let's do mid-decade redistricting and we're going to start with Texas, our governor said, well, sure, why not? Let's waste taxpayer dollars. Let's get rid of our, rip our communities apart, and let's suppress Black and brown voters for having their voices heard. That's what's happening right as we speak.
So, what's the next move at this point? So, the Democrats, they left. I'm understanding they're all going to jail and lose their pay.
It's crazy. I'll tell you, I'll walk you back. They started the special session where the redistricting was the first priority item on July 21st. They allowed testimony to be provided in Austin, Houston, Arlington, and then back again in Austin. On the 3 of the 4 opportunities to testify, there were no maps. So you were going up to Austin or you were going to Houston and saying what you felt about redistricting without having an opportunity to actually look at and talk about a real map. They did that on purpose so that people could not really opine or give real testimony about anything specific. And they released the map on a Wednesday, and the following that Wednesday, 2 days later on Friday, was the only opportunity. You had to go to Austin and then testify if you wanted to testify about the real lines on the map. And so that happened on a Friday that for the committee, the redistricting committee for the House of Representatives, and then it got passed on the Saturday. So obviously without modification, and their plan was to pass it on the following Tuesday. So Wednesday to Tuesday, we're not even talking about a full week.
Right.
And these folks were getting ready to try to pass a map that nobody'd seen and that drastically rips our communities apart in ways that needed to be rejected. And so they want to do that, which is what precipitated our state reps leaving the state, as they should have, to break the quorum. So will this redistricting map pass as it is? I'm pretty sure that the president who wanted this done probably sent the message that he wanted it passed as is, and as opposed to modifications. In 2021, when they did the redistricting, at least there were some modifications that got made. Nothing of the sort is even on the table at this point. And so they literally are just, here's a map. This is what we're doing. Don't say anything. And so now they're kind of waiting each other out. Now, will the governor end the special session? He can end the special session and call another one. At some point, will the state reps come back? Probably so. In time. Is this something that's his top priority? Yeah. And so will we end up with this map? It is very likely that this map could pass given the power, their paradigm in the state legislature.
Right.
That's why all these elections matter. So, the state legislature, they're Republican dominated. We have enough to break quorum, but we don't have enough to, stop this from getting passed if quorum is established. And I want to clarify something because people need to know this as well. People are very confused about all of this because, we have this special election for the 18th going on. That special election that is November 4th, 2025, the new map does not apply to the special election. It is the election is for the remaining portion of the term that was being served by Sylvester Turner. So it is you not drawing new maps because technically, and with the new maps, he wouldn't even have been in the district. They took out Acres Home, they took out Independence Heights. They ripped the 18th Congressional District up.
So it won't, with the new map,
Correct.
that representation will no longer be there.
No, so
Well, there'll be
so
representation, but
so it's confusing, and that's what the intention is here too, because they want to confuse you, get you overwhelmed, and then you just disengage, right? How that typically happens. So you have right now an empty seat. By the time someone is actually in the seat, it will have been 18 months without having voting representation for that seat. That's a long time to have taxation without representation.
they can do that.
You should not be. That should not. The state law says that the governor has discretion as to whether to call a special election and when to call it. So he didn't even have to call it. So again, another big issue that we should be fighting, which is you should never be able to introduce this kind of politics into a special election.
So give the folks at least 3 things you think they need to be doing right now and be aware of at least.
Of course. One, for this redistricting issue, if you have not already called the governor's office or your state senator or your state rep, call them today. Tell them no to HB4. We do not want redistricting, period. It silences and mutes Black and brown voices. You cannot dilute Black and brown voters. That's prohibited. You cannot do that. And that's what they're seeking to do with this in a broader scheme. So that's one. Number 2, what else can you do? You know, a lot of people have shared that they boycott certain stores that have been against DEI, who have gone against their DEI policies and stuff. And that's totally fine. But take that, whatever you were going to give that, pay for in that store, take that money and start funding groups that might be involved in the next stage, which could be litigation. So if you see groups like the NAACP Legal Defense Fund or others, ACLU, I don't know who's going to be filing suit, but that is a very likely outcome, which usually happens when there's redistricting of this sort. So if there are lawsuits that are filed after this, if and after this passes, then start contributing to those organizations that are involved in the litigation. That's something you could do proactively. Take that money, put it someplace that can actually help make a difference. Okay. And then last, you got to go out and spread the word about voting. Just as it was confusing to you, it's as confusing to 99.9% of people. They have no idea that there's a special election coming up. Everybody knew that Abbott had not called the special election, but very few people actually heard when he finally did. So November 4th, 2025 is a special election coming up to fill the unexpired portion of the 18th Congressional District term. And then you also are going to have the midterm, which will have the new maps. And so that is what they're intending to cause confusion. And guess what? Even if you've been changed or moved out of the district, go vote in the new district. And those maps can change again. What Trump is doing is opening up Pandora's box with this, because now it's not going to just follow where every 10 years with predictability, you're going to have new maps. No, we're going to be fighting over this every time there's a congressional race, because they're going to be trying to secure the House.
All right. Good stuff. Amanda Edwards, I stay positive.
We gotta have leadership. That's what leadership is.
I appreciate the fight. We need to fight. I appreciate you giving all this information. It's great information. A lot of people are not aware of what's going on. They get bits and pieces. You get the news bite, but they need to take it in a chunk. And I hope that they've taken in a lot of this information and they take it serious. We're in a very interesting time in history. And I get what people say. Every day is an interesting time in history. I think we have hit that area where, man, we are really at an interesting time. I think we've hit that place.
I think you're right.
I think we've hit that place. But good luck to you and everything you're doing. We appreciate the information and good luck. I stay positive. Good luck. I stay positive. Amanda Edwards on Magic 102.1.